Alright, welcome back to Satisfactory. In the last episode, we built this monstrosity of a rotor factory, I believe, in preparation to start making motors. Was our plan? Yeah, we wanted to make some more motors, and I built this, and I'm coming to terms with the fact that I'm not super happy with it for two reasons. One, it overly uses my screws, which is not something that I really want to do. Currently I'm only making about 200 screws per minute. I do have a pretty large back stock of screws available, but yeah, I don't think I'm quite here where I want to be, using all of them just for this. So I am going to leave this running for right now. We'll let it keep making the rotors, but I'm going to go to a different area, I think, at some point in the near future, and try to make these properly. But we'll let these fill up. They're built kind of backwards as well, because the copper sheets aren't really being delivered quick enough. The frontline ones are, but the ones in the back, so my screws are getting delivered quicker to this side than they are to this side, and my sheets are getting delivered quicker to this side than they are to this side. So it's backing up the production of everything. And I don't really have a solution for that at this exact moment. So yeah, I'm gonna want to redo this, definitely. There's also like a lot of backup up here, so there's a lot of things we need to consider when it comes to how we want to redo this factory. Anyway, in today's episode, we have a fair bit of things to work on. I believe it's been a few days since I've played. I'm gonna head over to the hub and see if there is anything that we're specifically looking for. So just looking at the list, oil processing is always pretty high up, which is probably why I was wanting to get motors up and running. Mark II logistics, which we'll need the oil processing for, of course. And we have petroleum power. This is new, I believe. Is it not? No, it's not. I think this is just a different... I'm not sure. But I think setting up for the oil processing is probably the best way to go. And what I'd like to do is start producing our motors, which means we'll need to find a place where we can produce stators, a place where we can produce rotors, and where we can produce, or where we can kind of tie those together. And that's kind of the tough part. So my first thought was, I have iron here, I have copper here, and this is where I was going to move the rotors that we were going to make. Then it would just become a mission of making stators somewhere, or we could use the stators that we're already making, of course. So I'm going to start with that, I think. We're gonna start utilizing this copper kind of in a dual use. So it's still going to be making we'll still be making our wire and our cables, but because those are full right now, I don't see a reason not to kind of double dip on this. And if everything gets backed up a little bit, that's not the end of the world. But those will be... This part will be okay if it doesn't have a full full line of copper going into it at all times. So if I remember rightly, we only have a Mark 1 miner on here, so we're gonna definitely bump this up to a Mark 2 miner. And I believe this is a impure node. No, it's a normal node. So we're getting 120 copper per minute with this. So we'll want 4 smelters. I'm gonna move these back just a little bit. Here we go. Okay, splitter. One here. One here. Take our belt. Tie them in like so. Then we can throw. I kind of wish I put these a little bit closer actually. Go like this, that. Should be a little bit better. And then simple enough, we'll come down here. The splitter on this belt. Yeah, it's gonna go through the floor. Not super worried about it. If anything, it gives it a little bit more pizzazz, you know? Hook these up to the power. Set them to start making copper ingots. And then I'll need these to make copper sheets. So in front of that, we'll get our constructors. I think it is 2 constructors to 1 smelter. No. So we're making 80. We're making 120 sheets per minute, so we'll need 6 constructors. And it's actually pretty simple to set up. We will have a merger here with a merger here. This merger will connect into this one along with these. These will go into 2 separate splitters. Or this will split into a splitter that will go into 2 separate splitters, I should say. So we'll have a splitter set up a little bit more foundation here. So we'll have 3 constructors here. And 3 constructors here. The constructors will have a splitter on each side of them. Put those up. There we go. And now these just need power. and they need to make copper sheets. If we have any excess of copper sheets, that's totally okay. I'm fine just like sinking them off, or if I am feeling really ambitious, I might even make a extra storage for it. I think copper sheets is one of those things that like you don't necessarily need a lot of storage for, but better to have it, not need it, not have it. Okay, so we'll let those run. If they fill up, that is fine. Looks like copper is not being delivered for some reason. It's because this is on a tier 1 belt. It needs to be on a tier 3 belt. Okay. There's gonna be small gaps here. That's okay. Not the end of the world. It's just from us using cables, so the cables are going into the dimensional depot being remade. Right, okay, so we have that, and then right below where we started here, we have an iron deposit. So we're gonna want a Mark II miner here. We'll have the ores go up from this side. Lift. I didn't see what kind of node this was. Okay, it is a impure node. Means just 2 smelters for it. Set those up here. Grab splitter. These will make our iron ingots, and I believe it is 4 constructors needed for this. It's 12.5 for 25, and I'm making 60. So 5 constructors should be enough. Keyword should be. Where I put this power pole is kind of messing me up. I'm gonna move this over to this side. Okay. So we'll build these constructors a little further back, I think. So 1, 2, 3. And 5. Powerful also is kind of in the way. So yeah, so if my math is correct, at 12.5 each, with me making 60 per minute, 4 of them will use 50, and then the last one I can just set to use 10. So we'll grab a merger. I guess the question is, do I want to... Okay, so here's what I'm actually going to do. It's going to look a little weird. Quite work that way, but grab a splitter, pick it up like this, and this one will go into here. That doesn't quite work though, right? Because this one will be dumping 30 into 25. let me think about how I want to set this up. Alright, I'm just gonna stick with the manifold method. A little bit easier to manage. I've been trying to stray away from it and be a little bit more load balance heavy, but with some builds, like just space-wise, like having a manifold system or having a properly load balance system just doesn't really make sense, unfortunately. Okay, so we are now producing, we need to underclock one of these, so we'll do the last one. We'll need you using likely less, I think 80% will be correct, yep. So we're producing 240 screws per minute, and assuming these ever catch up, 60 copper sheets per minute, yeah. So for an assembler to make copper rotors, we'll need 22.5 copper sheets per minute and 195 screws per minute. So that's probably just one assembler, I think, that we'll be able to hook up here. The good thing is that will make it pretty simple, because we can just throw a merger on these. But this is about what I wanted anyway, was kind of one central area where the rotors were being made, rather than having to transport a bunch of things all at once. I didn't mind leaving the one that I made last episode up, just because I guess it doesn't need to be split in, right? Just because I do need to utilize some of those screws, but inevitably I am going to run out of screws on that very quickly if I leave it the way that it is. So we'll set up the merger here. These guys can all feed into that one. Guess it would have been easier if I just put it in a straight line to this, right? But oh well. So we are overproducing a little bit of everything right now, but I can overclock the assembler just a little bit if I'd like to. I'm gonna let it fill up before anything, but since we're producing, so it's 50 copper sheets per minute. So basically I could double it, but then I'd be using too many screws. We're making 240 screws per minute. So if I were to overclock this, say to make 13, it will still be overproducing copper sheets in that case, but there is always a solution to that, and that is just to sink off the excess. Currently we're sitting around 304 points per minute, roughly. Set this to overflow. So our Mark III built on. This needs power. And I'm gonna let that run for a second and just see how many points we're at now. Okay, swap this over to a tier 1 belt just to be safe. I think I technically can afford something a little, well, no. Just because it was sinking off like pretty much all of the excess that I had, I'd rather keep that. So we were at about 3,000 per minute, but it looks like we've kind of faltered out. We're about 1750 per minute now, which is pretty good. Definitely not bad at all, especially since we're still kind of in that like 10,000 per coupon range. I haven't printed out any of my coupons or used them for anything just yet. So cool. So this is the rotors taken care of. I need to set up a little storage area for them temporarily. Okay, and we're doing 13.9 per minute, so I will factor that in. And now we need to go... I think I'm just going to use the stators that I'm already making, just because of how much of a pain they can be to make. So I'm going to head over to the stator factory. Alright, here we are at the secondary stator factory that I made. This one, I believe, is making 50 stators per minute. So I'm not sure when... I actually don't remember building this, to be honest with you. I haven't edited the episode where I built this one. But it looks like we're building 50 per minute. I am going to flood the lines with some wire so that the assemblers in the back can catch up at some point. As a matter of fact, I can just do it. I actually don't have too much left in my inventory right now. But yeah, so we have plenty of stators to work with, and the question just becomes, do you want to move your stators to your rotors or your rotors to your stators? I'm kind of just sitting here thinking, I'm like, with me making 50 stators per minute, actually, it might be 60, because I think I have 6 assemblers here, and they're all at 5 per minute. Yeah, 60 stators per minute. No. 1, 2, 3, yeah, 60. Sorry, I'm struggling with math. 60 stators a minute. I can be making 60 motors per minute at that rate, since the motors are... Sorry, I can be making 30 motors per minute at that rate. But I need to bump my rotor production up a little bit, or I would need to be taking away from that factory over there. Both of which are fine. Here's the thing about that, is that this factory is only making 18 rotors per minute. This is kind of my main functioning rotor factory. I think 18 a minute is sort of plenty. We still have this factory over here that I haven't torn down just yet, that is making a ton of rotors, but a lot more than I need as well. Now, with this one, I could actually probably lower the amount of rotors that it's making. So currently, it's making 11, 55, 99 rotors plus a little bit, so about 100 rotors per minute, which is way more than I need. So if I were to cut off, say, this much of it, right, we would have 11, this would be about 60, just a little bit less, 60 per minute. It would also solve, or a little bit more, I should say. It'd be about 65 per minute, I think. And it would also solve the issue that I was having, that it was kind of overproducing rotors. And I can still sink off anything in excess that I'm getting. So that's what I'm kind of thinking about. So now we're doing about 65 rotors per minute, right? Because it's 33.75, 33.75. So you could just say 67 rotors a minute. And I can take that with the 60 stators that we're making, and that can turn into motors if I either bring the stators here or take the rotors over there. I'll be kind of overflowing on copper sheets here, of course. But we can, again, just sink off any excess, and that's probably just good for us. Also, like, having an abundance of copper sheets is not the end of the world at all. We'll leave it like this for now. What we'll do, I think we'll bring the stators over here, right? I'm just thinking that it would be easier to transport them here since these are kind of separated. Okay, so this part of the factory is not going to be super sustainable for the long term, but it's going to work for what we need it to do. So we're going to be using 10 rotors, 10 stators per minute. We're currently producing about 60 of each, so I'll need 6 assemblers in total. I'm going to build semi-vertically here. Okay. Build 3 up here as well. We'll feed them this way, I think would be the easiest. And the rotors are simple enough. We'll just bring them over. We'll set a splitter up right here. That can feed this, that, into that. There can be a lift here. Let me build a little ramp off to the side here so I can actually get up to this part. Little ramp here. We'll use the bottom half, I guess. And I just put this in temporarily, but I'm gonna use it for right now. And actually, I think it can stay there, because what I'll do is grab these mergers. Do the same thing. We'll put a buffer in front of it. And because there's gonna be an overflow of the rotors anyway, this will actually be good. We can utilize the overflow a little bit better. Come over here. Set a merger on. Looks a little funny, but it works. We will set these to make motors so that everything can start going in once I hook up the power. We are running a little bit low on power currently. Last time I checked, we're actually technically over our power consumption limit, assuming all the factories are running. All the factories obviously are not running currently, otherwise we would be out of power. So if this shuts off the power, we may need to go add some more. Okay, that's our rotors being delivered. Again, it's going to be a little bit more than we technically need at any one point in time. But I'm okay with that. Next, we need to deliver the stators. So let's go back over to the stators.
Parts purchase confirmed. Promotion delayed by X times part value plus fix-it stock value.
Alright, I caved in. And I spent pretty much all of my tickets on motors. And my plan is I'm going to unlock, rather than building another truck station, I'm going to build a train station. So I'm going to go grab the last couple of things that I need for that.
Milestone reached. Trains are excellent for efficiently moving vast quantities of parts. Train logistics can be made more precise and complex with tools found in the railway signaling milestone. I listen to all my pioneers, often when they're not even aware of it. So due to popular demand, I have added a motivational message. Choo-choo mother.
Okay. Yeah, so the reason I decided trains over a truck station for this one, and I've kind of always felt this way about the truck stations, which is why I typically don't utilize them much, is just that keeping the trucks fueled is kind of a chore. I don't want to have to struggle to keep my trucks fueled in. Like, if you don't have a coal node nearby, I think that's kind of the easiest way to do that. So without the coal node nearby, there's not really an easy way for you to really have a truck station, on top of the fact that it takes away from the coal that you could be using for other things. So I think unlocking the train station is the kind of easiest solution to that. I do kind of wish that I built this a little bit higher up, but we're here now. We can probably go up a little bit here. Might have to fix this when I build the train lines. But I will come across that bridge when I cross it. So this will just be a simple bi-rail train, nothing special. I'm not sure that I'm going to do what I did in my Update 8 playthrough, where I made a big central hub with the trains. I actually really liked that idea, but it did become a little bit of a hassle to manage, keeping everything in line. And the main problem that I ran into is until you hit the tier 5 belts, it was pretty much impossible to get everything set up the way that you needed. So I'm going to need a little bit more plastic. It looks like I have everything otherwise. So we'll need 2 locomotives, 1 freight car, 2 train stations, 2 platforms, and a bunch of rails, which I don't think are too expensive. So we'll need rubber, plastic, and some more motors. I have the motors being made already. I dropped off some stators to get those up and running. So it'll just be the rubber and plastic, which obviously we can't make yet. But after we wait for the hub to return, we do have the materials that we need to get oil processing.
Milestone reached. Crude oil can now be extracted and refined to produce various industrially beneficial parts. The byproducts of these processes will require careful management, but a capable pioneer such as yourself surely understands that. To improve efficiency, pipelines can now be optimized with valves to limit and balance their throughput. These were initially left out because Fixit did not want to overwhelm pioneers with complex pipeline management, but they have since been re-added after my impassioned defense of your capabilities.
Maybe I've lost my mind, but it just took 2 of my tickets and didn't give me my stuff. There it is. Okay, well, that's fine. I'm okay having a couple extra stacks, but now we have everything that we need for the train station, so let's go build that. And I'll build this side first, I guess. I just wanted to map out the foundation, which is why I started on the other side. But I did not realize that these require plastic. And we're gonna try to line the freight platform up with the input for the stators. We'll set our train station down. Make sure that we have it in the right place. Freight platform. I think we went on the wrong way. How much did we miss by? Not much, actually. Is this a splitter? This needs to be a merger. We need a merger. No. What do we need? We just need the splitter. I don't know why I broke that. Don't question me, just accept that I don't know how to build things. So we need to set Mark 1 lifts up. Looks like we already did these ones, which is great. Line these up here. About there should be right. We're almost out of belts, which we do need to consider. Guess that wasn't even close to right somehow. But that's fine. We're okay with everything looking kind of funky around here. We need splitters on these guys. This is where I would say, like, I would prefer to be able to change which side the inputs and outputs were on, because imagine I could swap these out. So I have the outputs on this side and the inputs on this side. It would make it a lot easier, but it's okay. So I'll just make it a Mark II belt, I guess. It doesn't really matter, technically. Then we'll need a empty platform. A electric locomotive on one side. Freight car. Out of steel beams. Alright, let me go grab some steel beams. All right, freight car. Second locomotive here. Alright, we'll build the second locomotive in a second. Let's just go with railway. And I'll meet you on the other side once I'm done building this. Alright, we've got the railway most of the way over here. I'm going to need to move it over just a little bit, just to make this line up a little bit nicer, but it will be okay for now. up our freight platform here. Get our empty platform. We'll fall off of the edge. While I'm here, I'll go ahead and put these together so the stators can start going in. Obviously, we'll need to connect this to the power. There we go. And let me fix this foundation really quick. And there we go. So our train station is all hooked up. I just need to go hook the other side up to the power, set the other locomotive on it, and it should be good to go. So let's go check that out. All right, all we have to do is set up our timetable. So this train will go from 1 to 2, save the changes, turn on self-driving, and we'll accompany it for its first run. Getting the next stop is unreachable. Error. Sometimes that's because it needs another platform on the back. Very rarely is that the case. But it might be station unreachable. Alright, let's see if I maybe missed something on my tracks. I'll be back in just a second. Okay, I just had to flip which side the train station over here was on. So we will accompany it on its way back over to the other station instead. Okay, I did the same thing on this side, so let's fix that. And now the train should be heading back over to us. Once I hook up the power and fix the timetable, of course. Okay, looks like it is good to go now. So we'll end the episode here. I'm going to at the end of the end of the episode, I'll just put the flip of the train going back and forth like I was intending to, but I lost my train of thought. No pun intended. Oh, I'm just going to set up a couple of storages for the motors to run into. But thank you so much for watching. It is very much appreciated, and I will catch you in the next one.